practicing Muslim girl wants a good practicing Muslim boy. If proposals are not in that category and parents are forcing to compromise because of age criteria, then what should be done in such circumstances?
If to say a good practicing Muslim boy and a good practicing Muslim girl, they don't get the marriage, they should marry each other.
They are not.
They don't know each other. They should say, if a good practicing Muslim boy or a good practicing, and then I say, let them marry each other, very good. If you say a good practicing Muslim boy or a good practicing Muslim girl, if they are looking for a match and they don't find a virtuous life partner, so what should she do? That's a very good question. Very important. I started saying, and then if they don't know each other, you should be the middle person to make them join. You get sawab for that. If there is a good practicing Muslim boy or a good practicing Muslim girl who tries to find a life partner based on Quran and Hadith, especially who has done a marriage preparatory course from IRF, So girls, when they do a marriage preparatory course from IRF, then they find it difficult to get a match. Because, this is required, that is required, then they come to know, and the market is saturated. It's difficult to find good boys. It's easier to find a good girl than a good boy. So therefore, we have started a marriage preparatory course even for the gents now, since last year. Coming back to the question that if you don't find the virtuous person looking for, what should you do? See, you get the most virtuous available, the best of the worst. Now here you take a decision, how much do you compromise? Now here, when you don't find the right person you're looking for, see, one more thing, that don't say, okay, I know that virtuous boy, oh, I want the same type. Again, Prince Charming or Princess Charming. I know that person, but he's married. I want similar like him only. Very virtuous, and then he should be a doctor, and then he should be this, and he should be that, and he should be rich, So now again you're going in circles. So if you're saying virtuous, you should say no problem. So then when you're looking for a virtuous person and you can't find the one you want, first thing you do is compromise on your other three criteria. You're looking for a virtuous, but it's okay, he should not be a millionaire, but at least, if not millionaire, lakhopati hona chahiye, crorepati to nahi. Or if he's not earning 1 lakh, at least should earn 50,000 minimum. So if you get a minimum from 50 to 30, 30 to 20, 20 to 10, depending on how much can you go down. Same way with the criteria of beauty or handsome, get it down. Same with nobility, and let the other things come down as much as possible, as much as you think that you can maybe go along with.
Yes, we are ready to compromise, even though we are not getting the virtuous, and the parents are very much, they are...
What is the salary you are ready to compromise with? How much salary?
4,000 is maximum for me.
How much?
4,000.
4,000 maximum, minimum, that is my criteria. 4,000 minimum, because it's maximum. Or minimum.
Because I want the virtuous. That is the only need.
Sister, to say is easier than to have it done. Anyway, that's the taqwa, it's very good. Someone may even be satisfied with 3,000, alhamdulillah. But 4,000, that means you are really, mashallah, you have really got down your other criteria, which is very good, sister. That shows your virtuous, alhamdulillah. The thing is that first you do is, I haven't completed the answer, sister, after. The first what you do is let your other criteria come down. Now once you get down the other criteria, then you see to it that you let your virtue be high, the marks for virtue, then you start getting that down. That the best available. Fine, maybe you wanted someone above 90 marks in virtue. You can't get that, try someone in the 80s. If not 80s, then 70s. Now when you keep on getting down, be careful to see to it that analysis is right. What they realize that now they want, okay fine, I want someone, I don't mind compromising. But then when they try and compromise on the virtue, they fail to realize that they are going and marrying a man who is earning 30,000 and his virtue level is how much out of 140? There was a man who had 70 points in virtue and was earning 10,000, but you had rejected him earlier. Because earlier your value was, I wanted 30,000 rupees. And this is very common. Initially you wanted a man earning 30,000, which is not wrong. It's acceptable, fine. Today's age you require money. So a person who has a living standard and she wants to marry a man or a boy who wants 30, is fine. She gets it down to 20,000. She doesn't find someone close. Then she goes far away. She gets a man earning 30,000, but his taqwa level is not 90, it is 40. Or if this was what you wanted, there's already a person with taqwa level 60 who is earning 10,000, not 4,000. So what happens? when you go out, you fail to realize that when you first do your survey and don't find the person of what values you want, then you come down on the virtue level from 90 to 80, no problem. But there is a boy who is close by who has a virtue value maybe of 65. But finally when you take a decision, you're marrying a boy who has a virtue value of 35 and maybe salary may be that and his other points. This is very common. And I know it's common even in ladies who have done the training program at IRF. Because I get information from my wife very often. I'm not involved in interacting directly with any of the ladies wing members. But when I get information from my wife, I say, see, she did the Dawah training program. She's been at such a good level. She's been at the co-group level of the ladies wing. She has been active at the ladies wing. Fine, she wanted a good, very good. But finally who she chose, I said, this was the choice. There are 10 other options better. You always note that when you compromise on the value of virtue, there is something which is known little evil is better than unknown evil. So you go and marry someone who's staying abroad in America, you don't know his background, okay fine, he's just done a degree. Better marry someone who you know his value of virtue is 60, he's confirmed working in an Islamic organization. Now you go out of the way and marry someone from USA. What is this? Someone from Dubai? Someone from UK? I said, if this is what they're going to compromise on, fine, if they get someone, a very good pious person from UK, I've got no problem. Who's a great dai and do a lot of dawah activity. The person is far away from education, can't speak English properly, but he has the 30,000 rupees. So that is security. Then UK becomes security. So when you compromise on the level of other things, you fail to realize that you are actually, again, building a castle for you. So that is the reason taking guidance is important. And when they come for guidance, and when the guidance is given to them, that this person is not, nobody had tried for 4 years now. But what you are trying, then their minds get locked. When they come from advice to whom they feel, who they considered, as I said that when you want to ask your parents, ask your close friends, who they respected a lot, when they say this is what you have chosen, there are better ones. No, but I've taken the decision. So again, infatuation comes. So even for a virtuous girl, because she doesn't get a virtuous boy, once she gets someone, 2 baar mulaqat hui, matlab abhi to head over heels. This is also infatuation. Father says, don't marry. No, I want to marry. Virtue is fine, but what is virtuous in him? So they marry a boy of virtuous level of 40. This is just examples I'm giving. 40 marks. Everything else is no way. Even the other aspect is no way. The father is saying, don't marry, no, I want to marry. So this is also infatuation. Therefore you have to be careful. Don't get so much engrossed. Always do mashwara. Always consult. And ask people who are more experienced. Ask people who are in the field. But initially they ask. Afterwards then they take the decision as though they are the expert. And this is common even in the ladies wing of IRF, I'm sorry to say. Very common. Initially it is good. Later on they compromise. This is the compromise. 4,000 cheta tha. I could have got to 20. But to say 4,000 is easy, to implement is very, very difficult. 4,000 in this age, difficult. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. But if your taqwa is so high, what we have to realize that if you're compromising on the level of virtue, you may have to compromise on the value of education also. Maybe the person may not know English. Maybe the person may have other problems. So it is very easy said than done. When you are saying compromise, you say, oh, I'm virtuous but should know English. Virtuous but should be a dai. Virtuous but. Many buts are there, which you are living in a castle sister. There are other people better. So the final choice that you make, in desperation. And what happens? Marriage takes place. Immediately within few months problem is, but she didn't say anyone. Because I fought with my parents. So she continues with the marriage for few months. Then few years. And when they come for advice, that see how they, I said, this boy, why have you chosen? Nothing I find. I found him good, okay, go ahead. Then there's a problem. They don't tell the problem for a few months, for a few years. Then they realize that what they've chosen is actually they've got infatuated. They said that they married a virtuous boy. Actually, his virtue level was very low. There were other factors. So it is an illusion. It is a delusion, sister. It's a delusion, believe me, it's a delusion. When a person in the desert, he can't find water, he sees and finds everywhere there's water. When the oasis is there, he sees something here somewhere else. So this delusion is very common, and it's a common factor. So initially the lady who's trying to find a virtue, the iman was good, everything is good, but when she is frantically trying to find someone, then she gets infatuated with someone, they go on the net, surfing on the net, chatting on the net, doing things which are against the Sharia, Islamic people. Then they decide, you don't know who the person is, you don't know who the relatives is, you haven't met the family people, and then you take a decision on chatting on the net, and then you go against your parents, you go against your elders, you go against the people who you thought. What happens then? Whole life is a mess. What you were doing also is gone. So therefore, it is very common. So this is another side of the coin, and then you start, no, I'm Islamic, now my parents aren't Islamic. So I can go against my father because, that answer which I gave, that if you want to marry a person who's Islamic, which your father doesn't marry, you can go against your father. So she's using that answer here now. And when they ask the same person for advice, that should we marry or not, when they get no, they don't take the advice. So that means they have made their mind, hum isse shaadi karenge. Then you go for fatwa hunting. You look for a scholar who agrees with your view, and then you say, yeah, that's the fatwa. So you made a decision, sister. Therefore, sister, don't get to that end point where you get so frustrated. You get so frustrated that you make a choice without thinking, and then you stick to a choice thinking it is correct. And this is very common amongst those girls who are Islamic, who are pious and who are virtuous. They are virtuous, but they tend to, but the age is carrying on. So you take a decision. If you want 5,000, no problem. Don't say maximum 5,000. Say by 4,000 to 20,000 minimum. We said maximum 4,000, should be minimum 4,000 rupees. And no problem. And then, fine. It is easily said than done, but it's difficult, as I said. So, if that's the criteria, you let your people who you respect, who you know Islamic, give that information. Because to get a person with 4,000 and pass, not that easy, but it's possible. It's even probable. That's the reason, mashallah, we conduct these courses. But the answer of one thing should not mislead a person so that she or he takes a wrong decision. Hope that answers the question, sister. If you have any counter question, sister? Any criteria up and down?
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Can a wife address her husband by his first name?
Sister asked the question, can a wife address the husband by the first name? No problem at all. She is most welcome. There is nothing that prevents. It's an Indian culture. When you address, say, Suniye, you can't take the name. Why Suniye? They say, Dekhiye, and then there's Ahmad ki Abu. Fine, that is Islamic. Because that's Abu Ahmad or Abu Sharaz. So that is Islamic, which is in part in the Indian culture. Iske Abba, but they are saying Iske Abba because they don't want to take the name. Because taking the name is, the name of the husband cannot come on the tongue. That is the Indian culture. That the wife cannot take the name of the husband. That is the Indian culture, not Islamic. Islam you can take, but you can even call by the father of your eldest son or daughter. That's permissible. That is the Arab culture. Again, it's not Islamic, it's Arab culture. That is there, and it has become part of Islam also. That because on the day of judgment will be raised with the name of the father. So in that way, there is no problem at all taking the name. But even simultaneously taking the name of the husband, perfectly fine, sister.
The Prophet's wife used to call the Prophet by saying, Ya Rasulullah,
because you are Rasulullah.
No, but they wouldn't take the name, na? So.
And that was because that was the Prophet. If you marry a Prophet, it's too late. It's too late. See, because that is Rasulullah has a bigger status than the husband of Aisha and Khadija. May Allah be pleased with them all. So because they were Rasul, even the Sahabas also called Rasulullah. Not only did the wives. Even the Sahabas called them Rasulullah. Even the companions called Rasulullah. Because that was the Prophet. That's a better thing. But the wives are permitted to call. Even if he's the messenger, they call because they want to give more respect. So, same way if your husband is maybe a director of a company and call him a director, even you can call, no problem. So whatever profession is, if he's a doctor, you can call him doctor, no problem. It's permitted. Not that, so you can call him the way you like. As long as you don't degrade him, don't insult him, there's no problem at all. Any sisters have any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
My question is that a woman is created from a crooked rib of a man. Could you just explain this, please?
What the sister is talking about is a hadith. It's a Sahih hadith of Sahih Bukhari, volume number 4, in the book of Stories of the Prophets, hadith number 3331, where the Prophet said that the woman is created from the rib. And the most crooked part of the rib is the upper part. And if you try and straighten it, it will break. Therefore, the Prophet continues that you have to be patient with your wife. There's a hadith again which says that Hawa, she was created from the rib of Adam. May Allah be pleased with them both. So based on this hadith is there. What is the meaning of this hadith? What sister quoted is part of the hadith. The complete hadith is that the woman is created from the rib of the man, and the most crooked part of the rib is the uppermost part, and if you try to straighten it, it will break. Therefore you have to be kind and you have to be patient with your wife. So the whole thing is that you have to be good to her, you have to treat her well. The full hadith says, therefore treat the wife well. What is the reason that the Prophet said that the woman is made from the rib and the most crooked part is the upper part? Many people think that this is a negative hadith. They're trying to degrade the woman, that the women are degraded, they are made from the crooked part, and does it mean that the women are crooked? And if you try to straighten her, there will be problems. So what is the meaning of the hadith? See, I being a medical doctor, I know that the ribs are very important for the human body. The ribs give protection to the lungs of the chest. And because of the curvature of the ribs, it's possible. If the ribs were flat, that's not possible. You know, the ribs are curved, it acts like a cage. It acts like an armor. And because of the curvature of the ribs, there's protection to the heart, there's protection to the lungs, and the ribs are also flexible to a certain extent. And the ribs, take the impact if anything happens. So because of the curvature of the ribs, the protection is possible. If the ribs weren't curved, it wouldn't be able to protect the heart, which is a very vital organ, the lungs, etc. So the ladies, the women should not take it as a negative factor, they should take it as a positive factor. Many a times how you look at from which angle is important. A person can be a pessimist, a person can be optimist. I'm an optimist person. So that doesn't mean it is negative. That means you have to be careful with her is right. Why? For example, let me give you another analogy. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on the woman the tender love and affection. The tender love and care that she has being a mother, the same is not found in the father. Therefore, the respect for the mother is 3 times more than the father. Now, because of that emotional feeling which is there in the lady, so that she can be a good mother, it has certain negative factors. The negative factor is that because she is emotional, she can take care of the children. At the same time, she has more chances of getting hysterical as compared to the gent. So when there's the positive and negative, but the positive is much more than the negative. The positive is she can behave like a good mother, she can take care of the children, but negative factor is that she can get, not that every woman is hysterical. The chances of hysteria in women is more than men, yet it may be just a small percentage. But the motherhood is there in every woman, but the hysteria is not there in every woman. The same way here, because of the crookedness of the rib, the advantage is more. The negative factor that if I try and straighten the rib, it will break. So here also the woman is being compared to the rib. The positive factor is that she can be good. She can take care, she can be a muhsana, as the Quran says. But be careful, treat her kindly, treat her with justice, be good to her. Don't try too much of pressure, there's too much of emotion, so women can get hysterical, too much of pressure is there. The same thing I would say that this is a positive hadith. But many of the Orientalists and many of the non-Muslims, they pick out hadiths and they put on the net and they malign Islam, and many of our Muslim women, oh yes, what to do now? So they get, again hysterical. So So it's positive and negative. You have to look at the positive. So I take it as a positive hadith. And it's an honor for the woman to be compared to the rib, which is a very vital part of the body, taking care of the vital organ, that is the sadr, the center, that is the heart. She's like a muhsana. That's the fortress against the devil, which is mentioned in several places in the Quran. In Surah Nisa chapter number 4, verse number 24, Surah Nisa chapter number 4, verse number 25, in Surah Ma'idah chapter number 5, verse number 5, in Surah Nur chapter number 24, verse number 4, Surah Nur chapter number 24, verse number 33, and various other places in the Quran. Hope that answers the question, sister. Any brothers have any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Dr. Zakir, we've noticed that nowadays, people are trying to search their spouses on the internet, and many times, like on the Facebook, and sometimes they're not just searching, they're just, adding na-mahrams in their so-called friends list. And when you ask them, like, why have you done this, they say that, it's for probably dawa or Islah-related purposes, let them be there. And we see that Muslimas uploading their pictures. So how far is it right?
Well, that's a very good question. That how far is it Islamic for a person to search for spouses, girl for a boy and a boy for a girl, on the internet, uploading the photographs, whether it be for searching with the spouse, whether it be for doing dawah, etc. I feel that as long as they do not break any rules of the Sharia, that's the normal answer for many things, and even this thing. Come to the main answer. As long as they're within the purpose of the Islamic Sharia, there's no problem. But we fail to realize that for a man, for a boy, to put his photograph can be accepted. But the reason is, why doesn't he put his photograph? Why does he want to put his photograph on the website is the question. I'm talking about general, for doing that, whatever it is. Now, as far as searching a life partner is concerned, if a boy puts, there's no problem, but the girl, I feel it's not permissible. For a girl to put up a photograph looking for a life partner in a website is not permissible. Personally, if a person comes through the parents, through a known friend, through an Islamic organization, gives the photograph, no problem at all. It is within some boundaries. And see to it that even that time, when a girl gives the photograph, see to it that if it's rejected, it comes back. Don't distribute 20 here, Fatafat, and then. See to it that if you're really serious, goes to an Islamic person, goes, and see to it comes back. Or it comes back to a person who okay, keep it. If you show it, get it back. That's very important. But on Facebook, anyone can download it. Anyone can take out a printout. Nahi naam hai receipt. So it's out of the question for applying. Magazines are at least okay. Because when you go to a matrimonial column in an Islamic magazine, there it is just the address and a brief sketch. There's no photograph. What is the height? What is the complexion? What is the do's and don'ts? That's fine. That's no problem at all. But going on the website, there are many other things. Then okay, fine. Then you can chat. See, again, chatting. Why you want to chat forward? So when you do a personal chatting one-to-one with a nah-mahram, whether searching for a life partner or not, I feel, if not totally haram, it is at least makruh. Many scholars have given fatwa it's haram. Many good top scholars have given fatwa it is haram. For a lady to chat, not for searching a mahram, otherwise it's haram. Many scholars have given. I'm not going to that extent. I said if not that, at least it is makruh. Even while doing dawah. While doing dawah, if a person has his own photograph and everything and conveys and goes and chats and all, fine. If you go in an anonymous name and maintain that, maintain all identity and go and do dawah to a certain level, it's acceptable. But while doing dawah, being open, okay, I'm so and so, I'm living so and so, I'm doing dawah and then dawah, what happens otherwise? Therefore, I say a man should do with man and female to female, male to male, female to female. You have that you want to go and do dawah in colleges and then you go in sitting in a room and chatting in a closed room and the third person is the devil. Fine? I'm talking about live. This goes to a certain extent, to a lesser extent, but even on the net. Then if it becomes too close, then you like to meet and fine. Man, there's so many cases. Chatting, London, no problem. Then one day wants to go, you want to come to London? When you're coming, what's your flight number, so and so? Fine, I'll be at the airport, or whatever it is. And there are so many cases, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. This is how the human nature is. So I agree with those that it is not permitted for opposite sex. Fine, you want for information, go to a website, get the information, download it, fine. But chatting, if you have exclusively only for ladies, no problem, gents, no problem. And for matrimonial, I am not in favor at all. If not haram, at least it's makruh. That's for sure. And what happens that what guarantee do you have? Your chatting means, and that's where it starts. That's where it starts. You chat and you start liking the person. When finally you see the product, dil laga gadi se pari kya cheez hai, wohi idhar hai. And then we say, out of all the cases, this. How you met? No, I met on the internet. Where is he? UK. Where is he? USA. What? So first, the affinity has come. It's not Islamic affinity. It is opposite sex affinity. It comes, and when you meet, you realize what was there. What was Islamic? Nothing actually. Looks, nothing. But the affinity is there. Then you go against your parents. Then you go against the person. And this is very common. So therefore I am totally against. Known evil is better than unknown evil. At least you know a person, okay, fine, Islamic ways, these are a little bit less. You know he's secure doing a job. You know his background. You know his parents. You know his friend circle. You know he has no vices. This person, what do you know? Just by chatting on the internet, what do you know? What is he doing? Maybe possible. Those people who have such marriages, they may be successful, a few. But it's too much of a risk. Going to a foreign country, you know what's going to happen. And you leave everything what you're doing here. It's totally, I feel, it's not correct. So therefore you have to be careful using such things. Yes, going to a magazine for this sign, and then you go to shadi.com. I don't know what shadi.com is. I only heard that name. I don't know how they conduct. But if it's done Islamically, it's possible, but it's very difficult. I don't know, there may be some Islamic websites which may be taking precaution not to put photographs, only taking the information like how they do in the magazine. Possible. Maybe, I don't know of any. Maybe, I'm not very internet savvy. I have my staff doing, I hardly use the internet. So in this way, I don't know, but if there is something following all the guidelines of the Islamic Sharia and seeing to it that the girls and don't chat on their own, you go to a bureau, no problem. Go to a bureau, ask for information, someone is moderating in between as a moderator, no problem. But you going chatting live with the person, I feel it's leading you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hope that answers the question.